Hello everyone, my name is Kyle DiLorenzo from Technical Services Window, and I'm here today to show you the basics of DaVinci Resolve 16. Resolve was once just a color grading software, industry standard at that, but now it is a fully fledged video editor with an integrated visual effects program and has dedicated audio editing capabilities as well. You may ask, how much would a feature-rich piece of software like this cost? Well, the answer is free. Now, there is a paid studio version for $300, but to get the most out of it, you need to be working in a studio environment. Here's a list of the differences. The free version does not have all the effects plugins such as noise reduction, film grain, or lens flares. You are also limited to render in Ultra HD or smaller. There is no face detection, and does not support the collaborative workflow, which allows you to edit simultaneously with other editors. However, whichever version of the software that you choose, project files will work across both versions. DaVinci Resolve 16 is also available to every student who is in a production class at Paterson University, and if you'd like to use it at home, here's a download link to get you started. So now that you have Resolve installed, let's jump into it. So when you first launch into the program, the first thing you have to do is create a new database. This acts like a central project file where all of your projects will be saved. In order to do so, hit the database button in the top left corner of the window. Your local database will be the default location where Resolve will store everything. However, if you'd like to change it so that you know where all of your files will be saved, then you can create a new database. The Connect tab is where you'd link a previously made database if you want to link a database when copying from one computer to another. In this case, we're going to create a new one. On campus at Paterson University, this should be set inside of your Edit Share folder, but if you're at home, you can create a new one on your hard drive. If you don't set this properly on campus, it will save the files to your user folder, and could then fill up your quota or your computer's hard drive, thus causing the program to no longer work. Once your new database loads, you can then create a new project. Once the editor opens up, we will start on the Media tab. Resolve 16 has 6 distinct tabs you can navigate through using the bar at the bottom of your screen. This program is meant to work from left to right, from the Media tab to the Delivery tab, so we'll start there. The Media tab is where you'll be importing and organizing all of your media. However, before we begin, we must check some important settings, such as our database and our media cache. First, go to DaVinci Resolve, Preferences, then Media Storage, and make sure that this is set to the database that you've created previously. While we're here, we can then jump over to the User tab to set our autosave settings, which are not enabled by default. Lastly, we must set our media cache. So navigate to the gear icon in the bottom right of the screen and go to Master Settings, then the Working Folders to set your media cache. Once all this is set, we can then import our media. There are 3 ways to do this. One is by using the Media Storage tab. Here, you can navigate through your hard drive's file structure and then simply drag the files that you want into the media pool. 2 is by right-clicking and importing your media. And 3 is by dragging media into the media browser. Next, we must set our sequence settings. Hit the gear icon again and then go to Timeline Format. Here you can select your resolution and your timeline frame rate. Please note that if you do not set your timeline frame rate correct here, you cannot change it later on. You can also drag your media into the timeline to create a sequence, but the safest way to do it is in the Media tab. Next, I'm going to show you how to create optimized media. This will create smaller proxy files that are easier to play back, especially if you have large 4K files or not a particularly powerful computer. Go back to the gear icon and then select Master Settings. Scroll down to Optimize Media and Render Cache. From here, you can change both of your optimized media and your render cache format. On Windows, you can try the DNxHR high quality format. And if you're still having issues, you can then bump that down to DNxHR low quality. On Mac, you can switch both of these settings to a ProRes proxy file. To create the optimized media, first select all of your clips and then right-click on one of them and select Generate Optimized Media. Once they finish generating, go to Playback and make sure that Use Optimized Media, if available, is checked off. Once you're finished with your project, it's a good idea to then delete your optimized media to save hard drive space. Lastly, if you want to reduce the resolution further of your files, you can then go to Proxy Mode and select one of the options. Before we jump to the Cut tab, there is one other really cool feature I want to show you. If you go to DaVinci Resolve, Keyboard Customization, you'll be able to change your keyboard shortcuts to either Final Cut, Premiere Pro, or Avid. However, for this video, I'll be using the default DaVinci Resolve settings. Welcome to the Cut tab. This tab is similar to Final Cut in function with the ability for fast edits, where it does not offer the same fine controls that the Edit tab does. This page is best used if you need a fast turnaround or for building your timeline. If you go to the Media pool in the top left of your screen, you can see all the media that we brought in previously through the Media tab. To view a clip, simply double-click on it and it will appear in the source browser. From here, you can use the I and O keys on your keyboard to set in and out points on your clip before bringing it into the timeline. You can simply drag your clip into the timeline, or use one of the other tools. One of the best tools is the Smart Insert tool. This tool inserts the clip to the closest cut point wherever your playhead is. Even if your playhead is in the middle of the clip, it will insert it before or at the end without making a cut. The Append tool will place the clip at the end of your timeline regardless of where your playhead is, which makes it really helpful to build a sequence quickly. Say we wanted to replace one of our clips in the timeline with another. This is where the Overwrite tool comes in handy. It will simply replace the old clip with the new one. Another great tool is the Place on Top, which does as its name suggests, and place your clip right on top of the other. When you're building your timeline, some things to keep in mind is the Split Clip tool on the left side of the screen, which simply just cuts your clips. There are also other basic editing tools built into your cursor, such as the rollers, which allow you to extend and also shorten your clip. If you click in the middle of that clip, you can then slip your clip. And then you can see the start and end frame in the source monitor for precise edits. Once we have our timeline built, we can then start to get creative. We can grab a simple dissolve transition from the toolbar over here, but if you'd like to see all of the available transitions, go to the Transition tab by the Media pool. Next to the transitions is the Title tab, in which you can find basic titles at the top and more complex 3D titles below them. Beyond transitions and titles, this page also has some other powerful tools. Click the tool button below the source monitor and you'll see some helpful tools such as Transform, which will allow you to zoom in and rotate your clip. You can also crop your clip, change the clip gain, time remapping, and even camera stabilization. There's some very powerful tools right from this window. So now that we learned about the Cut page, now on to the Edit page. Welcome to the Edit tab, which is similar to Premiere Pro in function, with dedicated audio and video tracks. The edits in this page will be slower, but are much more refined. The Media pool, for example, is still in the top left corner of the screen. We can again double-click on a clip and then drag it into the timeline. There are also other ways to bring clips in. Here we have the Insert Clip tool, which is F9 on your keyboard. This will bring the clip in wherever the playhead is, but unlike the Cut page, it will insert in the middle of the clip, splitting it in two. So you must be more precise with this tool. Next is the Overwrite tool, which is F10. This tool will insert the clip wherever the playhead is, and then delete the rest of that previous clip. Lastly, we have the Replace tool, which will swap out the clip with another one of the same length. One important thing to know about building your timeline is the difference between the backspace and the delete keys. The backspace will just leave a blank space when deleting your clip in the timeline without moving anything. I can bring that clip back with Ctrl-Z. However, the delete key will ripple delete everything backwards, which can be helpful or destructive to your timeline, so be careful. So now let's go over your editing tools. First, there's the Select tool, which is A on your keyboard. This will allow you to move things in your timeline to make basic changes like lengthening or shortening your clips. If you go to the Trim Edit mode, shortcut T, you can then slip your clips. And like the Cut tab, you can see in the monitor the first and last frames of your clip. The last tool that I like to use is the Blade Edit tool. You can hit B to bring it up, and then just click to make cuts. Another great shortcut is Ctrl-B, which will just make the cut without having to switch to the tool first. To zoom in or out of your timeline, you can drag this slider in the toolbar, or use Ctrl and then the plus or minus keys on your keyboard to zoom in and out. Another important aspect of editing is source patching. Say I wanted to make a copy of this clip above the original. I can hit Ctrl-C to copy, and then Ctrl-V to paste. However, when you copy a clip, it will paste onto the same track. To get the clip to go onto the track that we want, we must first patch the source. To do so, alt-click on the box and arrow icon next to the track that you wish to paste it to. This will disable all other tracks, allowing you to paste your clip onto that desired track. Same thing with the audio tracks as well. If we alt-click on the same track again, it will do the inverse, and re-enable all the other tracks. If you click it again, now all of your tracks will now be re-enabled. In the timeline again, there are also some really useful adjustments baked into the clips themselves. You can adjust clip volume by dragging up and down on the white bar. And another really cool feature is that you can add fades just by dragging the icon on the top corners of the clips. And the same thing goes for opacity on the video clips. Super simple, super easy. I wish that other editing programs like Premiere Pro also had this feature. Like the Cut tab, there are also different effects up by the media pool. There are all sorts of transitions and titles to choose from. But unlike the Cut tab, once you drag it into the timeline, you can now edit the effects from the inspector. The inspector is where you can make adjustments to any effect, video clip, or audio clip. Say for example, I wanted to make a title for this clip. I can go into the inspector, change the color, and the size of the text. If we clicked onto a video clip, we can then change its position and zoom properties. A great way to customize your clips. In here, we can also make keyframes to have these properties change over time. Say we wanted to keyframe our zoom. We would start out with the zoom function at 1, and then hit the diamond icon to create a keyframe at the beginning of our clip. We can then go further down our clip, and then change the zoom property to 2, so now the clip zooms in over time. One thing that is really cool about Resolve is that we can see the keyframes in the timeline by hitting the keyframe icon on the clip. So if we want our zoom to be longer, we could then drag the keyframe further down the timeline. For further control, you can hit the graph icon, where you can further refine your keyframes. To customize your timeline, you can go to this icon on the left side of your screen. You can do cool things in here like turn on and off your audio waveforms, or you can change the way that clips appear in your timeline, and even change the height of the video and audio tracks. This is a great way to make the Edit tab personal to you. The Fusion tab is Resolve's built-in video effects editor. Instead of layers, it uses nodes. Fairlight is for audio editing and mixing. However, it is not as feature-rich as Pro Tools or Adobe Audition, but it has all the necessary features that you will need. The Color tab in Resolve is the industry-standard color grading software. All these tabs are very useful and powerful. However, they must be saved for a separate video. And finally, the Delivery tab. This is where you can render your entire timeline. You can either use in and out points or select entire timeline. If you go to the top left of your screen, you can select the down arrow next to delivery settings for a larger view. The YouTube 1080p preset for exporting will work for the majority of people. However, if your rendered project does not look as high of a quality as you thought it would, one thing you can try is changing the bitrate. You can go to the custom export settings and then increase the quality. Keep in mind this is directly proportional to how big your file size will be. For many, the default 10,000 kilobits per second will be fine, but I would not increase this number to over 30,000 kilobits per second. Once you add your project to the render queue, hit Start Render to begin exporting. Thanks for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please like and subscribe for more content. And if you'd like to see more videos like this one, please comment down below.